Colin James looks back at his iconic debut album with a different, set of ears and thought and light. I'm John Beaudin. This is Rock History Canada. If you want to check out the entire interview with Colin, there's parts 1 and 2 as a podcast or a video, links in the description of this video. Here's Colin James. With the first album, was there a part of you that was surprised? I mean, with the first album, it just came out of the gate. And I mean, people are telling me about you. And it's like, people are talking. In radio, we're always told, you can't do it as much anymore, but say something that at least once in your show that someone at the water cooler might say something about. But when you're talking to, music people and they're talking about people, and I mean, there was a real buzz, right? Which was the best thing you can have. But did you know when I know there was a lot of producers, a lot of cooks in the kitchen for that one.
Yeah.
And one producer, Tom, didn't want you to do blues. Did you know at the end of it that you had something?
Not necessarily. I mean, we were going on all, things were, we were playing, I look back at that record personally, and I'm not happy with it. I don't know if I ever will be happy with it, but I sound like a child to me now when I listen to those tracks.
Was it because maybe back then you didn't know what you didn't know, like a lot of artists say about albums? But what's your take on when you look at it now?
Well, I just think I sound, it's a very mixed bag, that record. It jumps all over the place. There was 5 different producers. Tom Dowd should have been a match made in heaven, but he had already recorded Clapton and John Coltrane and he wanted me to be like the Eurythmics. He said, I think you should be making music like the Eurythmics. And I just kind of went, I don't know, And so we ended up getting nothing, spending a whole lot of money. And I had to fly to LA and do the whole record with Danny Korchmar. And Danny Korchmar worked with, Don Henley, and that was his claim to fame, and James Taylor and everybody. And I loved working with Danny. But I also had Niels Dorfman on that record, who would work with the Dire Straits. I mean, it was just a very expensive record. So it's not what you want for your first record.
Bob Rock was Bob Rock part of that?
Bob Rock did the first 2 singles, Why July and 5 Long Years. Yeah. And, I just think it could have been a better record. I liked my second record better. I think it was more R&B and blues. We did it in Memphis for that reason. And Joe Hardy was the producer. But I think out of all 3, I'm probably most proud of the Little Big Band 1, because I think, after 2 records like that, and I'm bummed that Stevie Ray Vaughan didn't hear Little Big Band 1, because I knew, I felt like maybe I went too pop on the first record, and I don't have any regrets. Listen, I love 5 Long Years. I'm very proud of that song. And it's hard, I think some people have the luxury of making their best record when they're a kid, but not everyone. And you got to be there to grow, and I just I'm thankful that I've had 20 records to grow, because, you're not always going to have it together when you're in that first record. You're going to do your best. But it's pretty overwhelming when you're all of a sudden you're getting flown to LA and you're having dinner with, it was overwhelming for me. Honestly, it was. And I think with Joe Hardy, I found a producer on my second record that we did in Memphis that spoke to me. It was me and him against the world. He took care to make sure I was okay with it. And I loved Joe. He was the best. He was one of Billy Gibbons' best friends, and I miss him dearly. He passed a few years ago now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But anyway, and then I had Chris Kimsey came to do the Little Big Band, and I guess what I mean to say is, I really had a chance to put it on the line and say, I mean it. I do love this stuff. I'm not just masquerading as a blues artist and playing pop, So it was a chance for me to really go on, throw my cards down.
Yeah, Down on the Bottom, I wrote Everyone's Been There. That's just one of those songs, and considering where we came from, I'm seeing the best and worst of people. We all have, because it's a hard time for people to be in this box that they're in, because they've never experienced that before. They might have heard about it. So that song was basically what's the inspiration?
First of all, I didn't write that song. That's a Bob Dylan song.
See, I didn't know it at all.
Bob Dylan and Jim James, but the reason you don't know it is because Bob Dylan never actually performed it. the new Basement tapes that was put out a few years ago had Mumford and Jim James and a bunch of different people, Elvis Costello. And they all imagined these songs that Bob Dylan had written and then kind of just finished them or put them to music. So that song had just a nice thing, and my co-producer suggested it, and it was just a lot of fun. It's always nice to have a good rocker on hand for live shows too, you know.
Yeah. So I just started watching Corner Gas now. It took me a long time, and I didn't know till today that you were on there. What was that experience like?
Well, it was great. Janet, I mean, this is kind of a crazy long history, but I wasn't an actor. I was I was an actor for 2 plays when I was about, God, what was I? I was probably at 19, and I got a job acting in Saskatchewan. Yeah, and I was in 2 touring. Well, one toured, and the other one didn't. And Janet Wright, who was the mother on Corner Gas, was my director. Was the first director I ever had. I only had 2, and she was my director in that. So it was like going home and seeing an old friend with Janet. And Craig Northey wrote the theme song for Corner Gas, as you know, too. So
I hope you enjoyed that. Many more parts coming up to our Colin James interview. We actually talked to him twice in the last month. And there's links in the description of this video where you can check out the podcast and the entire interview on our sister channel, Rock History Book. And Colin has a brand new album out. Remember, links in the description as well where you can pick that up. Make sure you comment on our videos, subscribe to our channel, and share our videos. I'm John Beaudin. This is Rock History Canada.